Assalamu alaikum, my dear sister, Mystic. I hope you're doing good today, and may Subhanahu wa Ta'ala bless you and your family. Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Lil Aqibati Mustaqim. Wa Allah fi kulli umri asta'in. Allah fi kulli umri amjid. Innani ultai lahu amtanani wa shukri. Wa inhu rabbi yuhibbu mu'minin wa mukhlisin. Wa rabbi huwa yuqari'u mujrimin fasiqin munafiqin. Wa Muhammadan huwa sayyidina makbubana wa innahu kana mukhlisan wa kana rasulan nabiyyan. Well, my brothers and sisters, I'm happy to see some of you here today and those who come, inshallah, in the future. And I'd like to greet you with the Islamic greetings and the words of Jannah. Salamu alaikum, rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, lil ikwani wa ikwati, fi deen wa kulli makan. And I will cover again in the lessons, as you've seen in the last couple of weeks, the Aqeedah Islamiyah is an important factor for all of us as Muslims. And even for the non-Muslims to understand how the Muslim thinks and how Subhanahu wa Ta'ala thinks. And without a ground basis of Tawheed, you cannot be Muslim. This is a mere fact. You cannot. And without that understanding of what entails to be a Muslim and to adopt Tawheed, without that understanding, is also a misgiving, and it leads to a corrupted faith, Aqeedah in Arabic. So I've been going through a number of things. You notice the classes, the Assul fi Aqeedah, and we are on Tawheed, which is extremely important. As you notice about Subhanahu wa Ta'ala and his book, and about our Prophet, alayhi salatu salam, is that he gives you what he wants from you. He shows you the right path. Our Prophet, alayhi salatu salam, he explains that right path, but he also gives you the pitfalls. And in the Quran, Subhanahu wa Ta'ala gives you guidance in the sense that he says, he'll say something like Tariq Yamin. It means the road to the right, which leads you to heaven. And then you hear him say Tariq Shimal, or the road going to the left, which leads you to danger, to the hellfire, and to misguidance. And so in Tawheed is no difference. You see the outline. Subhanahu wa Ta'ala gives you what the basis of Tawheed is. Then he also tells you what takes you from Tawheed. This is what we're going to be covering today. And as you recall last week, I gave you the basis and the understanding of Tawheed and how it works. I gave you some nomenclature, and I talked about the conditions. I talked about the history of Tawheed. Tawheed didn't begin with the Muslims in the 7th century, the 6th century. It did not. It had been started thousands and thousands of years ago, especially in our homeland on the continent here, and in Egypt in English, Messer in Arabic, Kemt in the Egyptian, old Egyptian language, which was a part of a Ge'ez and Arabic, which was related. And so Kemt is the continental name, the African name that we call Egypt. And they battled with Tawheed for thousands of years. It come and it go, it come and it go. And always the same actors fight Tawheed as it is today. You have the same. It's just the different powers, but the same attitude is there to fight Tawheed. This is why Tawheed is so important, and why Subhanahu wa ta'ala decided he's going to protect the last remaining messenger and his followers and his book, because the other two books from our brothers who are related close to us, the Jews and the Christians, you see they have corrupted their book and then created other books to go along with the book that Subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them, and they corrupted it. Well, Subhanahu wa ta'ala was not going to have any of that with the Quran, and he said so, and he made those revelations to our prophet and said that this book would not be corrupted. You say, well, yeah, well, what do you mean by that? I mean, I see CNN, I see this, I see that, I see all these type of things, people talking. Yes, it's a lot of talk. But as I always say, and as I heard one Sheikh Islam say, he said, you get the Torah, you get the Talmud, you get the Bible, and you throw it in the ocean, and you throw the Quran in the ocean as well. We're the only ones who have 1 million or more people who are Hafiz, meaning who have recited the Quran. We can recreate the Quran. They cannot do their books. We can, because there's 140 different versions of the Bible. That's interesting, 140 or more probably even today. And then, so we see that they cannot recreate their books, but we can. And Subhanahu wa ta'ala made sure he would keep that going. And he has. And we have 1400 years later, that book is still read the same as in LA or as in Turkey. We all read the same verses. There's no corruption to it. So with that said, as you saw the title, there's 10 very interesting nullifiers of your Tawheed. And we have to go back to something. You notice for 3-4 weeks, I've been harping hard on the quote unquote modern Muslim. You know, I don't like them. You see that. You see how my words, what I say about them, I don't care for them. No, I don't. I don't make no distinctions about that. It's quite evident because they have not, and they will not follow the right Islam. And so many people probably ask, well, yeah, you know, you talk against them a lot, but you never bring anything concrete. I bring some here and there. Today is the day. There are 10, but I won't go through 10. I'm going to have a couple of series because these things have to be talked about. And I will bring you the proofs why I'm hard on these hypocrites that call themselves modern Muslims, and why I'm hard on those I see on TV, YouTube TV, and so forth and so on, who say they're Muslims, and you hear them talking continuously that they're Muslims, and yet they make verbal apostasies on TV for anyone to see. Some of it is mind-boggling, but they'll come back and then say, well, you know, I'm Muslim. No one can tell me I'm this and that. Well, we have rules in Islam. We have rules that we have to abide by. The modern Muslim does not abide by those rules. He doesn't abide by Tawheed Allah and Tawheed Hakamiyah. He only uses what he wants, and then after that, he discards it. And this is the danger. And so this is why we have to learn our deen. And so I'm going to give you some things to help you. Anybody who wants these 10 nullifiers in English, I found it and I have it. And anybody who, you know, you can request me and I will send it to you and you can learn it. You should study it because it's extremely important, because you should understand what takes you out from Islam. And this is serious business. There's no fooling with this. You do this, you're out. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. So let's get started about this. Anytime you talk about Tawheed and you talk about nullifiers, you have to talk about one condition that we have not really talked about. And this is the thing of what we call takfir. Takfir is the expedition of one Islam. This is very, very serious business as well. There are rules to be made when we do such things like this, and there's conditions. And under the Sharia, we have guidelines that say that, well, we have the judges and so forth and so on, and to make and the ruler to make this determination. That's under the Khilafah. But because we have been away from the Khilafah and for so long, we don't have that anymore. And now we have Muslims running amok, okay, unleashed upon the Ummah. And they're doing everything in the world to disrupt the Muslim community. And they hide behind things. They say, well, you know what? You can't make takfir on me. Even though he gets on YouTube and say he will not follow the Prophet's rules. Some of the rules, he said, is too conservative. Like one of them said, he said, I won't follow. I don't have nothing to do with it. You see what I'm talking about? That's apostasy in itself. Any Muslim who says he will not follow even one directive of our Prophet, alayhi salatu salam, he is not a Muslim. Now, we have conditions to that. If the person is living, like, say, in the United States, and he doesn't have the knowledge, maybe the knowledge is taken from him, meaning he doesn't have that knowledge, and he makes a statement. That's one thing. We cannot call him a kafir. But a person who's been a Muslim many years, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years, and he makes blasphemous comments against subhanahu wa ta'ala, against his sharia, or against the sharia of our Prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam, this person is not getting a reprieve because he knows better. And every Sheikh Islam have concurred that the person who has heard the adhan, has heard the Sheikh Islam talk, have heard the Imam give his khutbah inside the masjid, he has heard the students of knowledge talk, and he still makes the acts of apostasy, he is out. He is deemed a kafir. You see the difference. We have a new Muslim, say a new Muslim in LA, he comes in, he doesn't have the knowledge. No one's teaching him. He doesn't have anything. He doesn't have anybody to guide him. And he makes a comment, or maybe he says something that may not be quite right. We cannot fault him for it. We have to alert him to this. Thirdly, and then I'll move on to this. There's a topic at hand. Thirdly, here's the difference too. Now, say our brother who made the apostasy here 3 weeks ago, so we said, hey, look, you know, this law here, the Prophet ﷺ has given us is too conservative. I will not follow it. Okay, so you want to give him a reprieve. Let's go back to him today. And we say, hey, Yahya, you made these comments 2 weeks ago. Now, you know the rulings from the Prophet ﷺ about makram, about being around with women, not your wife, holding hands with them, hugging them, being in the room, dating, and, you know, etc. If the person still tells us he will not follow it, he's deemed a kafir. We don't need to put him in front of a judge. You stay away from him. You stay away from him because we've already came to him. We ask him, hey, Yahya, you know, you made this comment. You said you want to date. You said you want to go and do certain things. And you said last week, 2 weeks ago, that you were not going to follow our Prophet ﷺ. Now, if he still is refuting it, he's gone. He's out. And his tawheed is finished, because you cannot make the differential and say, well, I believe some here with subhanahu wa ta'ala, but then I disregard some with our Prophet ﷺ, and vice versa. You can't do that. And if you look at the history of this, I give you an example. You say, Yahya, well, can you show me give me a proof? I'll give you one. I've talked about this before. In the early stages of Islam, when the Prophet ﷺ, he finally passed away, some of the hypocrites took this opportunity now, like we have today, because there's no ruler, there's nobody to govern them to do what they want to do. Assalamu alaikum, my dear brother Isaac. Assalamu alaikum, my dear sister Amina. And when the Prophet ﷺ died, they decided that, you know, they were going to test the new management, so to speak, of Islam, the new Khalifa. They were going to test it. And so when it was time for them to pay the zakat, they decided no. They say, look, there's some Arab tribes who came to Islam, most probably out of fear, who became munafiqeen, said, I'm not going to pay zakat anymore. I'll pray, I'll do this, but I will not do that. Then came the Ridda Wars. The Ridda Wars to say there's no distinction between what the Amr of Allah, Amr of Rasuli, and the requirements, the 5 requirements of Islam. You cannot turn back around and say, well, you know what, Hajj, I don't want that. I don't like it. I will not go. You're out. You cannot say that. If you cannot do it, that's one thing. But when you say that you will not do it and you will not follow it, you're supposed to pay zakat. You tell, no, I won't pay zakat. And you say, well, hey, Yahya, this is wrong. I will not pay it. I don't believe in it. Those are the type of things we call ridda, meaning apostasy from the religion. You're out. They fought wars over that, and bloody wars, until they brought the Arab tribes who were munafiqeen, hypocrites, back to the fold. And then others followed suit, and then they became good Muslims after that. So this is some of the proof to show you that you cannot make distinctions on anything that the Prophet ﷺ has ruled. If he says there is no dating, he says there's no hold hand with women outside of marriage. There's none of any type of things going on between you and another woman who's not your wife, and you say you want to get away from that. Hey, you have a problem. And this is the beauty of Tawheed. And I said before, this protects our sisters. You say, why, Yahya? Because Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has made the man stronger, and he gave him leadership role. The woman can't walk up to her husband 99.9% and beat him up. We know that. She just cannot. She doesn't have the strength to do that. So Subhanahu wa Ta'ala he knows that. And our Prophet, ﷺ, he knows that. So we have rules to protect her, and to protect her livelihood, and protect her family from this. This is right. This is what we give in Islam. Nobody else does this. This is why the wife has a lot of power inside the house. She has a lot of power. She has the right to subsistence. She doesn't have to go run around the streets trying to find food. That's the man's responsibility. She has her children. That's the man's responsibility. All of this is under Tawheed Hakamiyah. Again, we always refer back to Subhanahu wa Ta'ala and our Prophet. That's right. So I'm giving you some of these things to help you into making the distinctions here, to help you to see how beautiful our religion is, to see how we as Muslims operate under Tawheed Allah, Tawheed Hakamiyah, under the Sunnah of Allah, and so forth and so on as we go down the line here. Now, the takfir, as I said before, is very dangerous. If you make someone a kafir, and he's your brother, and you're mad with him, you two argue over some leaves fall from the tree on his yard, and then you argue, you call him kafir. That reverts back to you as well, because you have used and took your brother out of Islam. You're not supposed to do that. You have to have a foundation, and it has to fit under the Sharia. If it doesn't fit under the Sharia, you cannot use that. And most of us are not qualified to give those types of rulings. And this is part of, again, under Tawheed Hakamiyah. And I want to give you something about this also. When we talk about Tawheed, we have the exact opposite, which is shirk and kufr. Shirk, assigning partners to Allah, and also we have the kufr, which is disbelief. And disbelief, again, when we talk about that the Sheikhs of Islam have put conditions. Again, we look at someone in the United States who does not have the access to all of the education and so forth. It hurts him as far as learning Islam. But his reprieve is starting to go away, because now we have the media. We have YouTube. We have all types of media that you can go to learn. Even though you may not learn it very well, but at least you can attempt to learn it, because that is one of the conditions that you under Tawheed, is that you do learn your religion. That is important, but I won't cover that today. And so I'll give you the list, and I'll say these in English because we don't have the native speakers here to understand the Arabic. So I'll give you the 10 the qualifiers. Now, you say, Yahya, is this you talking? No, I say what it says. But the Sheikhs of Islam have all agreed on these 10 conditions. It's important. One of the first conditions of the nullifier of your Tawheed, of your belief in Islam, here is shirk in the worship of Allah. I'm just going to name them, then we'll talk about some of them. Shirk in the worship of Allah. That's one that takes you out of Islam. Second, setting up intermediaries between a person and Allah. You see this today with the grave worship, where a man will walk up to the grave, to his ancestors, and he'll pray to him and say, you know what, pops, moms, please intercede for me with Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. and ask subhanahu wa ta'ala to give me a better life. This is what they're talking about in this type of thing here. This is a second, setting up intermediaries between you and subhanahu wa ta'ala. As you know, in Islam, there's no such thing as that. When you make your prayer, it's you and subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not our ancestors in between there. You can't do that. The other religions may do this, but in Islam, it's forbidden for the people who do this, knowingly do it, have been advised not to do it, and they still do it. They have just took themselves out of this. In Islam, we call this nواقض al-Islam ashra, meaning the disqualifiers and nullifiers of Islam. There's 10. This is what we say in Arabic. So the third one is believing that the Mushrikeen are not disbelievers. You put an asterisk by that. We're going to get into this one. This is prevalent among Muslims today. Very prevalent. Again, the third nullifier of your Islam is believing that the Mushrikeen are not disbelievers. You put an asterisk by that one. 4, hating anything of the Prophet's message despite practicing it. Remember what I said about the brother was on the TV here 3 or 4 weeks ago? He was adamant. He was adamant about the Makram rule. He said it was too conservative. He would not follow it. This is what we're talking about here. Hating anything of the Prophet's message despite practicing it. This is why I talk about the modern Muslim. You've been hearing me weeks, and some have said, you have no proof. Yahya, you keep talking about you don't like the modern Muslim. But I'm giving you the proofs today. This is one of them. This disqualifies. This is the 5th. Hating anything of the Prophet's message despite practicing it. Yes, you pray because you want to show, but in your heart you hate it. You want to show the public that you're Muslim, that you pray. And like our brother who was on the TV, who's talking about, he made his emphatic, for the world to see, he was not going to follow this particular thing from the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. This is what they're talking about here. 6, mocking or ridiculing any part of Islam. You don't see much of that. In private, you do. But most Muslims don't do that because they know that even they may feel that, they won't go and mock Islam in the public. They won't do that. Number 7, this is one that affects our African brothers in particular and sisters in particular. Involvement of sorcery, believing in sorcerers, fortune tellers, astrologers, and so forth. If any of you have been following here the last 4, 5, 6 months, I've been on different programs and so forth. We had one brother that came on and he fought me for weeks. He was trying to bring our brothers and sisters who in the chat room to disbelief by talking about the stars. This is what they're talking about here. This is this here would take you from Islam. This is a nullifier of your Islam. Anybody who uses the stars, anybody who believes in this astrology, anybody who goes to a fortune teller to read his palm, anybody who goes to and uses black magic and stuff like that against your brother, against anybody, this person has apostated out from the religion. He's gone. That's number 7. Number 8, mark this one as well. Put a star by it. We'll talk about this inshallah ta'ala because it affects many modern Muslims today. Supporting and assisting the Mushrikeen against the Muslims. Mark this one as well. Number 8. My dear brothers and sisters, we have far too many Muslims doing this. You're out. I say this unequivocally. We have the proof here, and there's much proof in the Quran and the Sunnah. The Muslim who goes to assist the enemies of Islam against his brother is not a Muslim. The Prophet ﷺ has said that, but we have that. And we have that. And the modern Muslims say, look, I have the right to go work with the Mushrikeen. I have a right to go work with any disbelievers. And so what? I make money. I'm not hurting anybody. I go and spy on the Muslims and I make a report and I feed my family. No. Because remember, if anything in Tawheed Hakimiyya is what subhanahu wa ta'ala provides for you. If you do what is right, you be patient, he will give you your substance in this life because you are a human being. He's not going to starve you out. You can't use the excuse and say, well, look, you know what? I have to go work with the disbelievers who are fighting and killing Muslims in order to put food on the table. Cannot do that. So number 8, you mark that. Number 9, believing that it is permitted for some people to be free of the Sharia revealing laws of Muhammad. You mark a star by that one also. Number 9, we have Muslims today, again, like our brother a couple of weeks ago, the Sharia tells you you cannot do certain things. He said he will not follow it. He said it's too conservative. This again applies to the modern Muslim, because the modern Muslim today, things that he don't like in Islam, he says, hey, I won't follow it. It's too conservative. I live in modern times. I'm not living in the 7th century. He's abrogated the laws of subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's abrogated the laws of our prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam. You cannot do that, but he did it. This here again is what he's talking about. And number 10, finally, turning away from Allah's religion, not learning it or implementing it. You mark a star about that one also. This affects many of our brothers and sisters in America and in the Western states. They are content of only doing the bare minimum to be Muslims by talking it and maybe pray, when it's time to pray, and make a psalm or fasting in the month of Ramadan. That's all. When you talk to them and tell them, hey, pick up the Quran and learn it, they don't want to do that. They'll say it's too hard. It's in Arabic. I want it to be in English. Okay, we have English translation that, which is not the same. It don't count the same. And they still won't read that. This is what we're talking about here. Learning and implementing it. Meaning, again, all of us, the students and lawyers, even the scholars, they will tell you to the time you are ready to die, you will be learning, because there's always something new. There's somebody out there that has a lot of information, and you'll learn something new. We as Muslims, we're not like the others. You must learn your religion, because there's a lot in Islam that will help you. And you have to learn it. It's a condition of apostasy for the Muslim not to learn his religion, not to learn it. This is why the reprieve given to our brothers and sisters in Europe and America is going to dwindle, because we have media. We have media now where you can go to, you can put in Google and say, look, I need to learn about the Sharia. And you have stuff even written in English now to help you. It's not as good, but at least it gives you a basis, and they won't do it. Many American Muslims won't do that either. So this is a disqualifier. So I give you the 10. Today we'll talk about the first one, which is very simple. This here entails some of the obvious. The modern Muslim will tell you, he will concentrate only, look, yeah, you can't come after me. I don't have idols of worship. Oh, wait a minute. There's other conditions to this here. And let's get into that. Let's get into that. There are some conditions in this that will nullify what he just said. In this condition of the first one we talk about, where you have this ibadah and you assign partners to subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then you turn back around and you say, well, look, I'm not doing nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. Let me enlighten you on something. We have what is called, we have major and minor kufr, disbelief. This is part of that. And one of these conditions, I'm going quickly because there's a lot, but I want to give you the base so that way it can help you to understand. The setting up of partners, one of the major ones is the love of something, and you begin to make worship of it. Money, property, power, rulers. Yes, where we have a ruler that we love and we follow him blindly. Even if he tells us to go jump in a lake, we do it. These are some conditions that we're not supposed to do that. We're not to follow somebody blindly. We're forbidden from doing that. This type of thing is we call major shirk and major kufr. And this type of ibadah is so prevalent among us today. And let me also tell you something about this particular one, the first one. In shirk, because we understand in shirk, there's 72 different types. That's right. This is the beauty of our religion, because we have slick human beings. They say, okay, I'm going to find a way to wiggle around the Sharia and the Sunnah. So I'll start doing this. You remember something, Subhanahu wa ta'ala is the best of planners. He knows his creations. And we have 72 different types, and they cover, different things. How about in America, where property, wealth, and so forth is put at a premium, where it is a worship? And even in some Muslim states where people are dirt poor, they begin to worship money. This is what we talk about here. Well, that is a major shirk, major kufr, where you have you worship and you sign partners to that worship. You love that thing so much, you almost love it as much as Subhanahu wa ta'ala. And also, many of the Sheikh Islams have associated fawahish or debauchery with that too, where you have, like in the Western world, I was a non-Muslim, I was just like any other American man. You have girlfriends and so forth and so on. Well, it can get out of hand. When you start doing that to where you forget the worship of Subhanahu wa ta'ala and you worship that debauchery, that gets you in trouble. So the first of the major, under this first one of the Nواقض, number one, is the shirk of love. I'm repeating this only in English, okay, in English. And this type is the love a creation as you love Allah. Now let's go to, we have some sisters, African sisters. They are, as a human being, they're beautiful people as a human being, but their Aqidah and belief is wrong. They go to worship the forest. They worship the rivers and they worship the animals in it. This is what they're talking about here. That's major shirk. It takes you out of Islam. We as Muslims, we cannot do that. If you remember 6 or 7 months ago, we had a solstice, I believe it was, and we had one quote unquote Muslim female, a Muslimah, who was also practicing this solstice, which is a filthy, vile European pagan custom. She was actually practicing that. This is what we talk about that as well. Assigning partners there, and this, when the solstice, December 21st, a long day where they make these celebrations and so forth and so on, and they make orgies and all this type of thing. We have Muslims, quote unquote Muslims, who are practicing this. Bad news, bad news. It's shirk of love, and it's take you out. And one of our greatest sheikhs Islam, he said, Tamiyah, rahimahullah, he said, whoever loves a creation equal to his love to Allah, he is a mushrik, a polytheist, and there must be a difference between loving for sake of Allah and loving with Allah. Now, let me give you a tafsir on that explanation. Remember, you heard me talk about the jihad, and you hear me say about the wallah wa bara. Remember that, where you love for the sake of Allah and you hate for the sake of Allah. He's talking about this part. You're covered under this. But here's the second part of that. The person who goes to the forest and begins to worship the mountains and the streams and so forth and so on, or debauchery. Now he's created a love with Subhanahu wa ta'ala. He goes, in that whole day, he doesn't pray. He marvels at the beauty of the trees. He marvels at the water. He goes and he fishes in there. He sees bears. He sees mountain lions. He sees squirrels and so forth and so on. He smells fresh air. He begins to worship that. And he makes it in a ibadah. This is what he's talking about here. You cannot do it as Muslims. They take you out. Yeah, you're right, my brother. Isaac, you're right. Yes, you're right, my brother. This is true. Faith over fear. You're right. There's so many of them here that you can give. Okay, I'll give you another one. I'm trying to give you some that will fit you for the time today so you can understand in modern times. The shirk of supplication. This again goes into the area where we talk about when you're making, you're pleading, your son is sick, for instance, and you say, you know what, I'm going to make prayer. I begin to ask the ancestors. I begin to ask them for help, and asking, can you talk to Subhanahu wa Ta'ala? Can you help me? Can you help me to understand what can I do to help my son? This is the type of thing that we're talking about here. This will take you out of Islam. Even though you say, why? He's in his house, he's doing this. Subhanahu wa Ta'ala does not want anybody assigning anything to him. This is Tawheed. This is Tawheed. The Christians do it. They assign partners. And some of our Jewish brothers as well, they assign partners to Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has made it clear he will not tolerate that. He will not tolerate that. And this supplication it seems harmless, but it's not harmless. It is damaging for your Tawheed, because Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is waiting for you to ask him for the help. When you go ask grandpa or grandma for assistance, this is what they're talking about. Or you make the dua and you ask him for a ruler to come to make something for you. Can't do it. This type of shirk, beware. Now, I want to get into something. I want to cover another topic in this. I showed you Surah 4, 115 is the verse 115. Under this particular one of the Nwaaqid Islam, number 1, the worship, the signing of partners to Subhanahu wa Ta'ala and whatnot. This here gives you the impetus on what I was talking about the modern Muslim, why I don't like them, why Subhanahu wa Ta'ala does not like them, and all the scholars of every age do not like them. Here's what Subhanahu wa Ta'ala says to bolster what I've been saying. Again, this is Surah 4, 115. If anyone contends with the messenger, even after guidance has been plainly conveyed to him, and follows a path other than the becoming to a man of faith, we shall leave him in the path he has chosen, and the land him in hell. What an evil refuge. My brothers and sisters, that's a warning. That is a warning for the modern Muslim who jumps from belief one day and disbelief the next day. Or he goes to run among the disbelievers, and then he forbids against the believers. Or he does this over here and he does that over here. So one day you see him, you see Yahya walking down the street, he's walking around here in raggedy clothes, tight clothes, smoking a cigarette. Then 2 days later, you see me walking with a tobe on, going to the masjid. You see, adding the confusion. So I'm modern on Mondays and Tuesdays. I'm a modern quote unquote Muslim. But Wednesday comes, you see me walking to the masjid. This type of path, you hear what Subhanahu wa Ta'ala says. He says, we shall leave him to the path he has chosen. If he's traveling a path of hypocrisy, it's going to lead you to the fire. This is what Subhanahu wa Ta'ala says in this particular verse. Please be careful, my brothers and sisters. In your worship, you stay focused the best you can on the Quran and the Sunnah. Don't look and be persuaded by anybody. I don't care who it is. Don't follow anybody blindly, even if it looks good. And you see a modern Muslim or any person, and you watch him and you see things, you make sure you check the references before you actually do it. Because that day our brother talked, when he talked about not following, how many Muslims heard him say that? And they might have been persuaded by that. And he turned back around and said he's making dawah. When I heard that, I just about fell out of my seat. He said he's making dawah. He's making dawah for somebody to be disobedient to the orders of our prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam. That's not dawah. That's kufr, that's shirk, and it's criminal. Subhanahu wa Ta'ala says here, again, people said to me, Yahya, you hard on the modern Muslims, but you never give us any proof. I've been waiting because I had to give parts of our Akida to you so you can have the basis. Now we're starting to get down to the nitty gritty, so to speak. I'm giving you some things about the modern Muslim. Not only my words, what I only go by what Subhanahu wa ta'ala says and what our prophet says and our Sheikh Islam says. This is what I go by. And Subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it clear. The modern Muslim, you beware. He tells you, you want to follow this path of hypocrisy? You want to follow a path over here that's not my path? I'll let you go ahead and do it. But you'll find yourself in hell. So this is something here. I gave you some proofs that why you go away from those people. You try to bring them to the right path. I give you an example, and then I'll move on to this other one. Today, I saw something in Facebook, very interesting. I've been trying to contend with this one sister, trying to get her to bring her back to the right way. And she'll say one thing, and then the next day she'll come back. It's like she's living two different worlds. I tried to bring the sister. I wrote to her. I said, look, this is what Subhanahu wa ta'ala said. Then today, I open up the Facebook. Here she's writing about eating pork. Yeah. And this is the type of frustration that the people of knowledge have and our scholars. We have Muslims who say they're Muslims. And here she posted something talking about eating pork, barbecue pork. And she's a Muslim. And not Muslim for one day, for over 25 years. This is what I mean. Well, this is so many problems we have in the Ummah today. Subhanahu wa ta'ala says, okay, our dear sister wants to follow this crooked path. I'll let her do it. It's shameful. Be very careful, my brothers and sisters. Oh, assalamu alaikum, my brother and sister there, Mr. and Mrs. Africa. Thank you for showing up. Assalamu alaikum. This is a dear problem, a urgent problem that we have in the Ummah today of the modern Muslim. And I'm giving my proofs why I don't like them. And so Subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it clear here. My brothers and sisters, stay clear of the modern Muslim. When he comes to you and tell you, hey, yeah, you know what? Hey, man, we don't have to pray on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, Thursdays. You just pray Friday. You don't follow that. If you're confused about it, you try to get the answers from some student knowledge. Don't follow that. They're everywhere today, and they're misguiding too many of our brothers and sisters. It's wrong. Now, I'm going to give you one here that I've wrote a lot in the past, and my wife, sometimes she gets on me about it because I'm hard about the modern Muslims who do this. Here's another one of the shirk ta'a. You heard me weeks ago talk about, I use the term the Muslims use when you obey, semi'ata. You heard me say it many times. Here we have shirk ta'a. This is also the modern Muslim today. Let me give you what the Sheikh Islam has said. To me, has said about this. He says, which is obeying others and disobeying Allah. Interesting. In other words, when someone tells you to prostrate to other than Allah, you obey him and disobey Allah. Let's translate that. We have modern Muslims today who don't even pray correctly. And they'll come to you, and I've had this happen to me, even the masjids. They'll come and say, hey, no. You're not supposed, you're not supposed to pray like this. You're not supposed to make you can't make a nafila, at this time. They come and they tell me this. And I said, well, give me the proof. And they'll tell me about what some imam says somewhere, and it's wrong. And they'll tell me to follow something that's absolutely crooked. It's wrong. This is part of what we're talking about, disobeying Allah. Subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us to pray. Our Prophet ﷺ has given us conditions and what to pray. We have nafila prayer. We have this, the condition when we go to the masjid. This is what we follow. This is why we go and refer. If there's a disagreement between me and you, what do? We take it. If we can't get a Sheikh Islam to decide the matter, we go back to the Quran and Sunnah and we find the answers there. That's what we need to do. And so here the Sheikh Taymiyyah talks about this. And then he says, if anyone legalizes action made illegal by Allah or forbids what Allah has legalized, then it is considered shirk Shirk ta'a. Again, we go back to haram and halal. Remember I talked about last week. We wake up in the morning, we go out to work and so forth and so on. We have what is permissible for us, and we have what not is permissible. Remember, I told you about our dear sister. I've been trying to bring back to the fold of Islam, and she started talking about she wanted to eat pork. She made pork legal. All Muslims know that. All Jews know that pork is a filthy meat. We are prohibited from eating it unless we have nothing to eat and we're about ready to die, and we can do it. This is what here we're talking about. Person made legal. Now, let's go into something else. We have pimps. Okay, there's Muslims that are pimps, believe it or not, more so in Europe than in America. But we also have them in Muslim countries too. They're pimps. Okay, they're pimps. And when you go after them, they have made the prostitution legal. That's right. And when you go to argue with them, because they have the backing of especially the kuffar backs them and their endeavors to bring prostitution, because the kuffar visits these houses of prostitution. So they back them with their strength and might. You see Tubab many times in Muslim countries, they fond of going after Muslim women because why? Our sisters are clean. They're tired of the nasty girls in Europe and so forth and so on, the prostitutes. So they go for new pastors. So they want to come to the Muslim countries and they want to see our sister in hijab, pretty, beautiful, clean, and so forth. And they want that. And so they go to these people, and this brother comes and he tells them, look, man, he says, hey, I don't care what our prophet has said. I need to make a living, so I'm a pimp. This is what we're talking about here. This is what we're talking about. This is one of the conditions they're talking about, this shirk ta'a, and you making something legal that is illegal. Subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't grant you that. Our Prophet ﷺ did not grant you that. You cannot do it. We also have minor shirk and we have major shirk as well in this. And I won't get into some of the minor shirk because I gave you some of the major shirk, because the major shirk is what we have today. We have people. And let me give you another thing on this shirk ta'a. Remember I was telling you about the modern Muslims. I told you put stars by some of the nullifiers like 3 and number 8. Remember that? This also entails that. You have Muslims who decide to go work in what's called Harb Salibiyya, meaning the Crusader Wars against the Muslims. This person, Tubab, gives an order to me. He says, Yahya, I need you to go after Isaac and all the brothers that are in these programs here. I want you to follow them. I want you to spy on them. I want you to make a report against them, lie on them. I want you to harass them when they come out of the masjid. This is shirk ta'a as well. I want my brothers and sisters to understand that. This is part of that. And we have that today. When a wretched disbeliever comes to you and he says, okay, Yahya, I want you to do this, and it's against the law of Subhanahu wa ta'ala and our prophet, and you do it, it's shirk ta'a. Now, we have conditions to that. Let me clarify this as well. In some of the third world banana states, I call them, where they have, persecution. You'll have police states where you have crooked policemen. It's not only in America, they're everywhere. And they'll come to you and they say, look, you know what? Hey, Yahya, hey man, I'm gonna ravish your wife and your daughter, and I'm gonna shoot them if you don't start spying on the masjid. That's not shirk ta'a. You're doing this out of fear. That's a different situation. You understand, my brothers and sisters? That's different. You're protecting your family. Okay, this man's got a gun at your head. He's gonna ravish your wife and your daughter, or he's gonna kill them, or he's gonna go after your son. Now you go, okay, yes, what you want me to do? Okay, I'll do it. And you go to the masjid to spy. You have no other choice because you're trying to save their life. That's different. That's different, my brother said. That's not a nullifier of your Islam. The nullifier Islam is those who walk up to the Tubab or to the Salibi, and he says to him, you know what? Hey, I need a job. I'll do anything. And he starts telling you, I need you to go beat Yahya. When he comes out of masjid, you throw rocks at him. I need you to go after the sister with the hijab, you pull it off. We have this happening. I want you to do this. I want you to see this sister here. We don't like her. Her name is Amina. When she come out, you pull her jab. And we have Muslims that do it. This is shirk ta'a. Take you out of Islam. It takes you out. The other facet of this in the shirk ta'a is the waswas of Shaytan, meaning when Shaytan talks to us, and he does go after every Muslim, and he begins to tell you to do things that you don't want to do. And usually what happens, if you remember this, my brothers and sisters, you know, you're in a sad state. Say something that's happened to you. The devil likes you when you're weak. So he'll come to you and he'll start telling you something. And suddenly he'll bring one of his minions to assist. Okay, and then you fall into that and you answer to what you heard. That is part of that as well. You have to stay clear. You have to keep your mind clean as possible. Keep the dhikr of subhanahu wa ta'ala as much as you can. This is very important, my brothers and sisters. Keep this relationship between you and subhanahu wa ta'ala, even when there's a death in the family. And it's hard, but you must find that patience, because if you don't, subhanahu wa ta'ala he will leave you, okay, if you go and start to follow the devil. When he starts whispering to you, you know what? Hey, you don't need to do this. I need you now to start going out. And this guy did this. I need you to go out there and do this. And then he'll bring a minion to help you. He'll give you a knife, or he'll give you the rocks, or he'll give you a bat. And then you go out there and you exact revenge. Can't do that, my brothers and sisters. You can't. You must fight this. It's important that you fight this. Okay, I'm going to stop at this point here. And I gave you another proof in Surah Baqarah. I think it was Surah Baqarah. I think it was 2. Let me see here. Surah 2, verse 165. And I'll pull that out. When the Muslims in this day and age, we're under attack. We have to follow the Quran and Sunnah as much as we can and learn it, because everybody's under attack. And the stronger your faith, the stronger the tribulation. I know that for a fact, because I have people to attack me constantly. They don't want me going to the masjid. They try to stop my prayer. They try to harass. They try to do things to separate you from subhanahu wa ta'ala. Remember, I've said many times, Tawheed. What's the basis of why the Americans fight the Muslims? It's Tawheed, the oneness of a God. They don't like it. And all of these errors, even our ancestral brothers of Kemp, Egypt, they wrestle with Tawheed. One comes in, and then the disbelievers come to fight it, to destroy it. And they do. And then suddenly another person comes to bring it back in. This is the history of Tawheed. We've seen this time and time again. In modern times, we have the same problem. Now, the modern day Romans are the Americans, essentially. Okay, and Romans fought Tawheed. They went away from Tawheed and they began to fight it. They fought the Muslims. And the modern day Romans, the Americans, and some of the European countries who are fighting the Muslims, they fight in Tawheed. And you got to remember that. And let me tell you something else before I read this here. Someone asked me a question, well, how is subhanahu wa ta'ala preserving religion from corruption? Not like, okay, what's happened with the Jews and the Christians. Let me say this to you. Our prophet has given us guidance on that. Subhanahu wa ta'ala said he promised that he would not have the outside forces to destroy Islam. And it has not happened. 1,400 years later, we still running strong. 1 billion of us, over 1 billion of us are still practicing the faith. Our prophet talked about we will have restoration every 100 years. This is the beauty of our religion. Subhanahu wa ta'ala will raise one of us every 100 years to restore the religion. Because it takes within 100 years, the Tawheed begins to get weak. We see this. We've been seeing this, haven't we? Tawheed comes and starts to level out and begins to falter. We have the modern Muslim today. He's working hard to fight you against Tawheed. And then suddenly here's come a reformer. He brings all this back again. Then another 50 years, the Tawheed begins to go down. By 90 years, it's almost gone. And then suddenly a reformer comes back. This is how Subhanahu wa ta'ala has preserved our religion. And we've had, and when they call them mujaddid, these are the ones who are guided, especially guided by Subhanahu wa ta'ala. They have knowledge that is beyond belief, and they restore the Quran and Sunnah. This is our promise Subhanahu wa ta'ala gave to our prophet. Our prophet has told us that, and we have learned this. So we know that every 100 years we have a reformer. That's the beauty of our religion. It's beautiful. We have a person to bring us back when we start to falter. Let me read you again here, Baqarah. This is the Surah 2, 165. And this is, again, what we're talking about in the shirk. Yet there are men who take worship others beside Allah as equals with Allah. They love them as they should love Allah. But those of faith are overflowing their love for Allah. If only the unrighteous could see, behold, they would see the penalty. To Allah belongs all power. Allah will strongly enforce the penalty. That's a warning. That's a warning, my brothers and sisters. And I will say this. This happens a lot all over, Muslim, non-Muslim. They follow blindly a ruler. Muslims are told not to do this. We have conditions on who we follow. And remember last week, I talked about the conditions about this, about demonstrations and don't do this and don't do that. We do not follow anybody blindly. If they tell you something wrong, you go check it out. If it's wrong, don't follow it. You're not ordered to follow this. And the prophet has made that clear. You follow nobody who tells you to do something wrong. And when you begin to love them more than you should love them, now you're starting to assign partners because you begin to make that revelation towards them and you start to emulate them and you don't. This is why, as Black people, African Americans in particular, and Africans, we have ancestors. We have to be very careful as Muslims that we don't put too much credence into them. Yes, we pray for them. Yes, we revere them. Yes, we love them. But that's where it stops. We don't go to their grave and ask them questions. And we don't go to them and ask for them to intercede for us. We don't make them into a dhikr. We don't make dhikr of Allah and start make dhikr to Mansa Musa or Ahmed Baba Sudani or Usman Den Fodio or any of our great scholars and leaders or Idris Al-Loma. I mean, we can go down the line, Samari Turi. We don't go and start asking them to help us. We stay away from that. So us as Black people in particular, we have strong ancestors, especially the African American and the Caribbean Black folks. Our history has been taken from us. So now we're starting to recover our ancestors. And it's a new thing for us. We have to be very careful that we don't begin to worship them. We follow them, we revere them, and we pray for them, those who were righteous. There's nothing wrong with that, but we stop there. But what we have today is we have people actually worshiping. We have people going to the graves of ancestors and making prostrations down to that grave, asking for them to help because they were a great Sheikh Islam in the 1800s or the 1500s. You can't do that, my brothers and sisters. That's wrong. So today I gave you the first of the conditions of this of the nullifiers of Islam. And that first is shirk in the worship of Allah. Don't do it. Any Muslim, you should not do this. You stay away from it. If you feel that you are making shirk, you ask somebody a question. You find a scholar if you can, or you put the question even in Google. You'll find some answer. Somebody have the answer there to protect your religion, because you do not want to go to the hellfire. You don't want to start practicing something that's wrong. And remember something, I gave you 10 of these. We just covered only a little bit of the first one. I'll run on the second one and the third one, because the modern times today, we have unique challenges as Muslims. We have the modern Muslim who is running amok, and the disbelievers, especially the Tubab, is protecting them. He puts them in power. He protects them. They can go anywhere they want. They don't put them on terror watch lists. They don't fight them. They don't go after them. They don't threaten to kill them. They don't put them on kill list. Okay, they don't put them on terror watch lists. The modern Muslim, they don't do that. They help them. They finance them. They back them. This is a difference. See, and you remember something I told you before that was brought up about 10, 11 years ago. The Pentagon came up with the thing on the Muslims. It was very interesting. He made distinction between 4 groups. Remember I talked about that. He said the first was the fundamentalists, the traditionalists, the modernists, and the secularists. The modernists and the secularists is the ones he protects. It's the ones he wants in power in Africa and other places. It's the one he puts money behind them. He puts armies behind them. He gives them weaponry to stay in power. The first 2 are the ones he calls terrorists. Those first 2 is the ones he jailed. The first 2 is the ones he makes lies on them so that they can't travel. And he goes even in their communities and lie on them. He'll go through the community and he'll set up a lie on a strong Muslim in LA in the community. He'll walk through this rogue Tubab policeman or agent. He'll walk into the community and he'll start talking. You see this guy? Yeah, he's a terrorist. He's under investigation. These are the first 2, the fundamentalists who goes after the Quran and Sunnah, and then the traditionalists who takes one of the 4 madhabs, and that's what he goes by. And they are scared of those, so they fight them, and they do everything they can to stop them. And they've tried to bring them to modern and secularists, and that's why, again, we have this problem today. That's why you see the modern Muslim and secularists, they have no problems. They go on YouTube, say what they want. Nobody fights them. He goes and travels anywhere. He wants to go to Europe, no problem. He decides he wants to go to Japan, no problem. He wants to go to Egypt, no problem. But a fundamentalist, or they consider fundamentalists, because there's no fundamentalism, but they look at certain people like me. So, for instance, where I'm a stickler about, can I travel everywhere I want to go? No, not no more. And many brothers like me, and many scholars, same way, they can't travel. And we have not done anything. You understand, my brothers and sisters? We haven't done anything. We only give religion to our brothers and sisters. We only practice it according to what Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. We didn't kill anybody. We didn't advocate killing anybody. We don't go, we only assist. We assist our brothers and sisters. They don't like that because it's Tawheed. They don't want that. So they go after us and they label us as terrorists. But the people who actually make crime, they leave them alone. And then notice something else, and I close here. The Muslims are under attack, but how about the gangsters in our cities? How is it that after all these years they're allowed to flourish? Have you ever thought about that, my brothers and sisters? Why is it that the gangster who goes and kills another black man, or who goes and sprays the community, he's allowed to continue that? But when we have groups who fight him, we have Muslims who practice the faith, he finds ways to kill them. He finds ways to put them in prison. He finds ways to stop them from traveling. But the gangster can go from LA to New York, no problem. The gangster rapper who advocate, he can go here and there, no problem. You see what I'm talking about, my brothers and sisters, how crooked things are. And you have to look at it for what it is. And for Muslims, we're involved in that. And we have a double whammy because we're black and we're Muslims. That is a double whammy against us. So our brothers and sisters, in a nutshell today, the nullifiers of Islam is no joke. And you should study this list, and you can review me as I talked about these 10 different nullifiers. The Sheikh Islams have all concurred this is something that they all agree on. There's nobody in the madhabs, the four great madhabs, that disagree with the nullifiers of Islam. And matter of fact, these are just 10. There's more, but there's others as well. But these are the famous ones we talk about in modern time. And there's some serious ones, as I told you before. I have these. I found it in English. Anybody needs this so they can study this, because you should. You should measure your Islam with this nullifiers. If you're doing any of these 10 things, this is the time now to correct it, because we don't know when our numbers can be caught up. We can walk out of the house tomorrow and we can die. We can die in our sleep. There's things can happen. You don't want to die in shirk or in kufr and disbelief. You do not. And you have to be very careful. So these nwaaqid Islam is part of the conditions about the tawheed. In order for you to maintain your tawheed, you must stay away from these 10 nullifiers. You got to stay away from them. You cannot adopt them. You see people doing it, you stay away from them. You keep your Islam, you keep your faith strong. You keep your knowledge, keep growing, keep reading the Quran, learn the Quran, learn the tafsir of the Quran. Get a hold of somebody with knowledge and pick their brain. There's nothing wrong with that. We're supposed to do that in Islam. Pick their brain. You have questions. You got questions about wudu. You got questions about salat. Like I had a question asked me one time about the going to the masjid. And what happens when he comes in through the masjid door and he sees the imam making prostration. What are you supposed to do? You see what I'm talking about? He picked my brain because he didn't know. He was afraid that he was doing something wrong when he was going to the masjid. He thought he did do it wrong. I asked him, I said, what did you do when you went inside the masjid and you saw the congregation is already praying, they're down in prostrations? What do you do? He explained what he did. It was wrong, but he came to ask for assistance. This is what you should do as well. Me, I'm puzzled by something. I'm too close to a problem. I have people I go to. And one man in particular, this one Sheikh Islam, when I'm too close to something, I can't see straight. You look at something, so you know what? I think I have an answer, but I'm not sure. I go to somebody that have more knowledge than me, and I ask them the question. I say, hey, what about this? And they'll give me their input on that. This is what we do in Islam. And especially us black people, we have a problem with that. We don't want to go to another black person to get an answer. I noticed that crab in the barrel theory. Remember this? Where you see one of our brothers got knowledge, we don't want to go to him. We'd rather go to somebody else. And then we get discriminated against, and we wonder why. But we should go to our people, our brothers and sisters, irrespective of race. But the black people in particular, you be very careful who you get your knowledge from. And there's a lot of people out here who are in violation of that. And I'll say this and I'll close. I talked about the number 8, supporting the disbelievers against the Muslims. We have masjids today where imams are specially trained to do this. They're reporting Muslims. They're reporting Muslims to the disbelievers. They're reporting them to agencies to go after them. This is a grave sin to do this. And some in the years past have led to the death of some of these Muslims. That death is on your hand. That blood is on your hands, my brothers and sisters and Muslims. Don't do it. Don't fall into this trap. But we have people doing that. This is why they call them nullifiers of Islam. You do this, you go help your enemy against another Muslim, it takes you out. It's apostasy. You're gone. And you be very careful of that. So my brothers and sisters, I want to thank my dear brother Isaac, as usual, brother. Thank you for showing up, and my dear sister Amina and Mystic. And also we got here Mr. and Miss Africa. Thank you, my brother and sister, for showing up today. I appreciate that. And I will have this class again here in a couple of days, inshallah, where we'll cover the second of the nullifiers, with setting up intermediaries between a person and Allah. Again, grave worship and stuff like this. We will cover that. And then we'll start getting to the real stuff about the modern Muslim today, about number 3, believing that the Mushrikeen are not disbelievers. This is one that's a big one. You mark stars by this one, because we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about what all the Sheikh Islams have to say about this, what Subhanahu wa ta'ala had to say about this issue, about believers believing that somebody is not a disbeliever. This is a big issue. So my brothers and sisters, thank you for showing up today. And I hope that you got something out of this, and you can review this to get the list again. If some of you want the list in English to give you the 10 nullifiers so you can study it, please get a hold of me. You can write here, and I always review and ask, and I'll give you the email if some of you already have it. And then if you want this list, I have it here, and you should study it. It's quite interesting, to say the least, and it gives you everything you need to know to keep you in Tawheed and Tawheed Allah, Tawheed Hakami, keeping judgments according to Allah. So my brothers and sisters, thank you for showing up today. And I hope that everything goes well for you today. And also, my brothers and sisters who are in the United States, please be careful when you step out today. Step out, please, when you go in the car, especially those who have or teenage boys. Our men are being attacked. Our young men are being attacked. Please be careful and watch out for them, and our sisters as well, because California and many of the states, New York, all over the place. I mean, you name it, everywhere. Texas, it's a killing nation now, a nation full of killers. We can be shot and killed anytime. And so please be careful, my brothers and sisters. Please be careful in the United States. It's a killing state now. It's a killing state. You got to be very careful of that. And you know, pray to Subhanahu wa Ta'ala and watch out. When you come out, you watch, you look around, you're in the car, you be careful and stay safe. So I'll leave you with the beautiful words of Jinnah. Assalamu alaikum, rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.